Welcome to Alli and Christian Code, the show where passion meets expertise in the world of software engineering. I'm Alli, a former healthcare provider turned software developer.
And I'm Christian, an experienced software engineer. We are here to share our learnings together as we find collaboration is better than going alone. All right, so we left off with we got things in a working manner, and we kind of
hmm
proposed what we might want the next step to be in this
hmm
world where we have one component that takes in the configs and handles the looping and type switching and stuff like that.
hmm
So let's refresh ourselves with where we're at and then jump into that step. So we have this page. It loops over the configs that we have defined. And based off of the type of that config, it will render a different component structure and definition.
hmm
And our components down here are set up during our initializing. We have several break type objects, a button, a p tag, and a header tag. And if we run this page in our browser, we see the spaces here are our breaks, our button, our p tag, and our header tag with some button interactions and some otherwise hard-coded or non non-configurable components above.
hmm From our out-of-the-box Blazor page.
So come back over here and let's look at trying to create this app config layout component. So in our file solution explorer, we can find that we're currently working on the counter razor page.
hmm
I'm going to go ahead and look at creating a new component inside of that folder. And we'll choose a Blazor component.
hmm
We're going to want to choose component instead of page, since I think at least one of the key differences is pages will have routes dedicated to them, where this
Makes sense.
component we want to reuse across lots of places.
Yep.
We don't need a separate file for the code behind. We probably won't need a separate CSS file, and I don't believe we will need a separate JS file. So I think we will leave it
Mm,
as just this default
Just
output
the
set.
component.
It has just an H3 tag.
hmm
Let's see, and this style is from my daily work in Angular land in Blazor world. This will need the same casing as our
hmm
component.
There.
Yeah. And there it's helping us
hmm
out and showing us that change.
hmm
See what happens when we run from here. I would expect to still see the same stuff with our new, uh-oh, we broke something. Uh, yeah, I found our component. It's good,
hmm
but it doesn't find the property that we are
hmm
passing in for our at configs. Okay, fair enough. Let's go ahead and remove those. I went and put them inside of a comment just so that we come back to them if we get this
When you get them
working.
set up.
hmm
That makes sense.
And here's our new component showing that H3 that we wanted. Okay,
Yep.
excellent, excellent. Step, small step, but you can see like why we took that small step. If we
Yep.
broke something immediately, had we gone and moved all of this into that component to begin with and ran into that, it might have been a lot harder to figure out what was broken.
Yep. For sure. Those small iterations make a big difference.
Okay, let's now take a look at what our configs are.
Hmm.
They are a set of UI configs. So if I copy this and put it over into our component,
New component. Hmm.
didn't find our UI config class at first.
Hmm.
And when I made some changes to set it up, find it, um, it found it from our counter page. Go take a look at that. That's probably not where we want it to live now.
Probably not. Not if the goal is to make this reusable.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's interesting that it found it right away.
Agreed, right? Um, let's see. Where would we want this to move and live? Do we want it to be over on our reusable component itself or in a new space just for these kind of type definitions that could live outside of the components?
I mean, my gut instinct is to live outside just because I like to keep those things separate, but I mean, it's fine inside of it too.
Yeah, it would work. I think I can see a spot where it might be valuable to have this outside for a world where we use it not within our rendering layers.
Hmm. Yeah,
Create a new directory to hold this. New. We want to add a new class. Give it the same name.
hmm,
We want that in source control. And now we'll paste in what we had previously cut
hmm.
from the last file. Now, going to be
Update that.
in the
Hmm.
DTO namespacing. And we will also want to make some changes to
Hmm.
here to point to that same namespacing.
File. Hmm. That feels better. I like that.
Okay, so now we have a separate file for our DTO. We have a public property for that over here. We are
Hmm.
going to change the underscore, as underscore usually indicates a private property. And we're going to put this back into our layout component setup and see what we might run into for an error now. Lost a closing
Hmm.
quote. That's now there. So we're still defining our configs over here.
Hmm.
We have it on this component as a field, and we're passing it into the public property of this reusable component.
Hmm.
See everything's wired up and working, or we have a new error, a similar message from before, not liking the name. Looks like I think it's the app part of the name that it's not liking.
Mm-hmm. So this just needs to be configs to match our component.
You got that changed. Let's try to run again and see. That's all we needed. And it's now recognizing that that is not finding a match with our change. Good. However, curious what we've missed. I don't think it's cascading parameter. What does it tell us here? Only allows that for properties, which this is not a getter setter property. Fine.
So I think we need to declare it just property or parameter, maybe.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we've changed that field to a property with a getter and a setter. We've
Mm-hmm.
marked that property as a parameter, which we would
Yeah.
envision as an input parameter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we go back to our counter page, one thing we might want to try letting autocomplete work for us.
See what it does.
And here it looks like it's
Hmm.
finding configs for us now. I bet it was not previously.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take that off and verify.
Mm.
Notice
Yep.
the colors are different
Mm-hmm.
and it does not help us find it. Excellent.
So it's at least more recognized. Hopefully it's what we need.
Good catch on the parameter type. Now let's
Mm.
verify that this is indeed the fix we needed. Excellent.
Ah.
All right, we have our page working again, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything new yet.
Yep.
It's still just showing our text
What
to
we
verify
out
that
of
the
box.
component works out.
Yep.
But we should be good now to take our previous configuration code
Mm-hmm.
and
Our
move
switch
that
statement.
over.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take this entire loop and
Since we're
switch.
passing in an array, take the loop.
And we're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to update. This is interesting. It indicates a spot we didn't fix up yet to be fully
Mm-hmm.
reusable. Since it's red and red means bad.
Angry.
So I'm going to remove that for the time
Mm-hmm.
being.
Love a good to do.
Assuming that is correct, we now have this page with one component that accepts in the configs that we had previously defined.
Mm-hmm.
It should render all of the things that it previously rendered. And we'll complete that here in a moment. There we go. We have the spaces. We have a
Mm-hmm.
button. We have a to-do for our missing data. And we have our header.
Yep.
Clicking on the minus button does influence the content on the other page, which is good.
Yep.
That's where you would want that to work, but it did not help us update here.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at what we might want to change related to that next. Okay, so we had, if I were to undo, we had some data
Mm-hmm.
that was influencing our p tag on a variable that is not part of our configuration.
Correct.
What would we want this to look like?
Or would we want that at all? Would you want that specific button to, or, would you want a button to be that specific?
Right. I think that's the clue. We want this p tag dynamic component
Mm-hmm.
to just display the data that it's provided. If that data updates itself, in an ideal world, this would update with that changed data.
Yep.
So we would start by leaving that off and keeping it as just the data in our
Yep.
configuration object. Data in this example is a string. Go ahead and take a look then at what we would need to do to modify that. So we have that coming from this configuration,
Mm-hmm.
and it says current count with um, colon and a space before the name was previously showing our counter variable.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if we just
Add that in there.
add the current count to the data?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be really cool if this works.
I
I'm gonna guess it
know.
doesn't,
I know. If it updates on the fly, I know. It's a good starting point.
but exactly, it's a good starting point. Ah,
Nope. Womp womp.
that is all right. It was a
So close.
valiant first attempt.
But it
It
passed in the first current count.
correct. It did.
It did say 0.
So one thing I know about Blazor is when things change, you sometimes have to tell it things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I might guess that could be part of this.
Mm-hmm.
I might also guess that in the way that we've defined our configs in this way, with our data being a string, it might not ever
Oh,
update this. It may only be setting this at a
yeah.
moment in time.
Yeah.
So what I might look to try next would be to see if I could force this to get updated, even if it's not 100% how I want it to be in the end, just so
Mm.
I can make sure that I get the data flow comprehension understanding going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we
That's
know that
good.
the button click action works
Mm-hmm.
and it calls the decrement count
Mm-hmm.
and the current count works. So what I might do um, as a very naive, not correct long-term route would be to just kind of pick that config and update its data and see if that comes across as I
Mm-hmm.
want it to theoretically do.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4 would be index 4 because array start at 0.
Yep.
If this
Oh
proves
gosh.
to work, then we can move on to
Mm-hmm.
um, making it better. If it doesn't, then we
Yeah.
can revisit with some
We
better
might have,
understanding.
yeah, to tell the component to listen. I wonder if there's like a callback or something, some sort of event parameter that you can slap on it. Oh, look at
Boom,
that. Nice.
right away, right away. Excellent, excellent. But because it's not currently connected to the add button, it's not going to reflect when add is clicked. It should reflect again when minus
Mm-hmm.
happens accordingly. So this is a spot where we probably want, instead of a string that we then would have to update manually throughout our usage,
Mm-hmm.
some path towards connecting the current count variable into our configuration
Mm,
so that our configuration can handle watching for that change
yeah.
of any provided other
Mm-hmm.
values.
Yep.
Okay, so we made some good progress. We've simplified
Mm-hmm.
this page down quite a bit. Let's take a real quick look on like why we might want to do this. If we were to come over to the back over to the home page
Yeah.
and we were to
If you wanted to add a button to this page.
mhm, set up a completely different configuration,
Mm-hmm.
we thought button.
Or some text, whatever.
So in this way, we have our Hello World home page set up with our new third component, providing
Mm-hmm.
a totally different set of configs in a way that will render completely differently now, thanks to how configurable and reusable it is. So we have our welcome
Mm-hmm.
button over here, doesn't do
Yep.
anything at the moment. And on our counter page, we still have our existing other. So this
Mm-hmm.
is where we're aiming for, where we want out of this system.
Mm-hmm.
And we found
So
our
you,
next spot
yeah,
to work towards next time.
yeah. So you could hopefully, ultimately, just slap in an array of configs on each page, and that's all you have to do.
Yeah, yeah.